Record. Hey there, everyone. I'm here with Dani Molintas, and Dani is a friend of mine going back for, I don't know how many years. Dani, if you could just kind of introduce yourself and tell people whereabouts in the Philippines you are and give them a bit of a context to this location.
I am Dani. I'm a Filipino writer. Right now, I'm based in a small town. It is a small town in the northern part of the Philippines, away from the capital. Um, I am writing a review of I'll Believe, as Geoff has requested, because I believe in the things that he writes about. He writes about a change in consciousness, which I think is something that we also need, being a country that has been colonized for many years, won its freedom from colonization, and also won against a dictatorship, but find ourselves now in political conditions that haven't changed really much. So
Yes.
that's
Yes. So you have a question for me.
it's of course, because I come from a very political setup, I like to ask Geoff, who are the political thinkers that influenced the thinking of the characters in your book?
It's interesting that I think my sense of a political point of view was very much honed in the excesses of the Thatcher government. Thatcher is probably the only British politician I truly loathe. And this is because I grew up in the northeast of England in a town called Hartlepool, which historically was a lovely little fishing village. But then it became an industrial hub. So we had mining, we had shipbuilding, we had, yes, the fishing, and also we had steelworking. And whilst Thatcher was around, all of those industries disappeared, and we ended up with only 10% left of our fishing fleet. And of course, that is drastic for working class people. It was a big industry town, and we saw its demise. It had 25% plus unemployment. And whilst I was unemployed, I then was employed on a government scheme to work with unemployed people. That the irony has not left me. And I ended up working on an estate that had 75% unemployment. And all of those things showed me how bad it is when people follow an ideology blindly, unconsciously. And for me, Thatcher, in terms of Britain, was the epitome of that. She kept saying it was good for the nation, what's best for the nation, whereas actually what she meant was it's best for her fellow ideologues and for private interests, because anything that was a national industry was sold off to private interests. And so I think that the biggest thing that comes out of the Thatcher years for me and feeds into, although it's not really a direct correspondence, if you know what I mean, with the terms of I'll Believe, it is that sense of the nation state ideology being probably the ultimate ideology that needs to be overthrown.
It's interesting. That sounds positively anarchist.
Yeah. The old European words anarche, so without authority. So it is speaking against the authorities in this term of the nation state. So anarchic, but not violent. They are very much influenced by the White Rose movement. So Sophie Scholl, Hans Scholl, Christoph Probst. They're all my personal heroes as well. And you have to look at their context, and they've seen what's happened when there's been violent resistance against the state and how that's being quashed. And their point of view, particularly Strix's point of view, is the more you resist violently, the tighter the iron grip becomes.